Welcome to Morfanime. I'm your fan of more anime. How is everybody doing today? I'm very excited because today I will be taking a deep dive. I will be reviewing, I will be discussing Attack on Titan Season 1. I'm very, very excited to talk about this because it's, such an old series at this point. What did it come out in, like 2013 or something? Feels like it's been around for a long time, and it just hasn't been on my radar. And in the last few years since I started Morfanime, I've expanded my anime horizons. So, I thought, why not dive into something that's not too long? I'm just about to catch up in One Piece. Maybe something like Attack on Titan would be a good palate cleanser because it's not a shonen anime. And I'm also in the middle of Bleach, so I need a little bit of a variety here. And I'll tell you what, Attack on Titan is nowhere near anything that is a Shonen Jump style, like a Dragon Ball fighting type anime. There is a lot of action, but it's all placed in different ways, storytelling wise, character development wise. But before I get started, spoiler warnings. If you haven't watched the first season of AOT, I don't know why you're here, unless you just want to hear me jibber jabber about things that I thought were cool. Also, like, share, and subscribe if you could. It really helps me out here. Fight the algorithms of YouTube. Let's just get right into it. First off, funny story. I accidentally started with episode 5 of AOT. I don't know how, but I clicked it and somehow it gave me episode 5 first. And believe me, if you started with episode 5 knowing absolutely nothing about this series, you would be shocked and not know what the hell is going on, and also very excited. Because I was really excited. If you start with episode 5, you get none of the build-up. You get no backstories. You get nothing. You just get right into the action. And by the end of episode 5, Eren gets eaten alive by these Titans, and his crew gets slaughtered. It's pretty dark, and you're thinking, this is some Game of Thrones shit. Like, they're killing the main character in the first episode. At least that's what I thought. And I was thinking, well, maybe his friend is going to be the main character, and they were swerving us. I love that idea. I wish that's where it went. Honestly, that's my biggest gripe with AOT right now, is because I started with episode 5, I got really excited because I thought, oh shit. They're pretending like this Eren guy is the main character, but really he's not, and he's gonna die in this episode, and Eren is gonna, take on his will, his fighting will, and become the main character. Is what I thought. That was my first thought when I watched all of episode 5, and I was like, man, they started off this show hot. And then I was like, oh, that was episode 5. I gotta go back now and see where that all built up to. I have to wait 4 episodes before I find out if Eren's actually dead. And the whole time I'm still like, he could actually be dead. They could be tricking us. I love the idea of an anime doing that. If I ever wrote a series, I would do that. The main character in the first few episodes, or even the first, half of a season, wouldn't be the actual main character. The actual main character would be the second or third guy that just like his friend, or his brother, or his sister. Somebody that's also involved, or maybe his mentor. That'd be a twist. Like the whole time you're like, okay, that's the older guy that's here to teach our main character. Nope, he's actually the main character because our main character dies early on in the series. That shit blew my mind. I was so excited to see where this show was going to go. I was thinking maybe the sister would be the main character or something. Which she kind of is when you look at it. She's one of the 2, at least, 3. So we go back to episode 1. Eren's mom dies in episode 1. We get to see a little bit more of the system and how this world of AOT works. They live within these walls that some people worship. There's multiple walls, and one of the walls gets taken down I think in episode 1, they get attacked by these titans for the first time in 100 years, I think. Maybe longer. Maybe 1,000 years. Like something like these walls have been holding. Or like years prior to that. No, it was like a giant titan shows up and kicks the wall in and then disappears. There's so many mysteries and questions I have about AOT, and I feel like I didn't get that many answers. I was waiting. There's one of the reasons I binged AOT so quickly. Like, I have a few things that I'm taking my time with. Bleach is one of them. One Piece I've taken my time with. I've been devouring it. And I know AOT isn't as long as those, and it's a completely different world, and it's a nice change of pace for me right now, and it gives me more of those Death Note type vibes. Not even close in story or plot or anything, but like that's the kind, like a short story. Because I know the Attack on Titans is supposed to end soon, like really end, like season 3 or 4 is supposed to be the over for it. So I thought, why not catch up to it now? And since I know absolutely nothing about it, it really threw me for a loop when the main character died in episode 5. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Either way, his mom dies, he gets taken by his father, and I think later on we find out that his father gave him some kind of a shot that gives him the power to transform into a Titan. Between episodes 2, 3, and 4, I remember they were mostly just training and entering, boot camp to be these soldiers. And I really love the fighting style of the soldiers in AOT. They have these air tanks on the sides of their hips. They fly around, zip, 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 zip around. They Spider-Man with these little grappling hooks. Almost unrealistically, they're doing parkour throughout the city. And I love that. They use these blades that have detachable hilts, so they can just change their blades so they have the sharpest weapon to slice the back of the neck of these titans. Because I guess the only reason, or the only way to kill them is to cut the back of their, umbilical or their neck spine from their brain or some shit. There's a specific spot that has to be destroyed or sliced to kill them permanently, or they'll just regenerate rather quickly. You think they're dealing with these mindless creatures. You get to see them training, pumped up, ready to fight back, especially after seeing his mom get murdered in front of his eyes as a child. Also, one of the characters is his sister, who isn't really his sister. I think we're led to believe that she is at the beginning, but really she was a little girl that was saved by his father, I believe. Or he saved her, but they were there together. And they murdered some child kidnappers. It was pretty dark, and I'm assuming that might come more into play later in the season 2. We'll see. Literally, their backstory means nothing to me unless it involves these titans, which Aaron's might, because the mysteries I'm curious about is, where did these titans come from? Who is making them? Do they have a lifespan? They seem like almost magic in a way, but this seems like this world deals with science, the way that Aaron can transform into a Titan. By the way, he can transform into a Titan. There was an episode where Aaron was learning how to zip in the trees, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't balance, and he was basically being told, if you can't figure out how to use these, you're not going to be able to be an outside, you're not going to be able to work as one of us if you can't do this. Turns out the belt he had was malfunctioned, and he got a new belt, and he was even better at, Spider-Man-ing around, because he had to work with that shitty broken belt so many times. It was like, oh, this is actually really easy. I thought that was cool, the training montages of sorts. We got to meet his, the rest of the troupe of nameless characters. That's one thing that was tough with AOT for me, is with most anime, like One Piece, Dragon Ball, Bleach, Naruto, every character that has any, substance looks different. And a lot of these characters in AOT kind of look the same. There's not a lot of differences. Their hair's a little different, but in in another anime, someone's hair would be bright orange and all spiked up. You're like, oh, I know who that is. Or bright yellow and angry. These are real people in AOT. They have real emotions and there's no over dramatic type characters or types of characters you see in anime constantly, which I appreciate. It's just hard to tell them apart and hard to learn their names because they're not so different, if you know what I mean. They're all living in the same shitty existence in a way. So they get through boot camp, and not too soon after that, before they're about to, finally sign up with because there's like two options they have after they graduate, and one is to be like a military police type person, and one is to be a scout. And you join the scout regiment, which is much more dangerous because you're dealing with Titans on a regular basis, but you are the toughest SOBs. You got to basically not be afraid to die or want to die, because you're going to be... The percentages are pretty high that you will probably die in duty. But it seems exciting, and it seems to make everybody much stronger. I'm not sure if there's any other units, but there is the military police who stay within the walls, and they protect everybody. And they eventually get to protect the rich that are in the center walls. The closer you are to the center of this utopia thing that they all live in, the more money you have, basically. Because if you're on the outskirts, you're the poor, you're the first people to be killed by the Titans when they break through. You're probably farming and whatnot. You're not the top diggity dogs. You're probably also going to have kids from your people taken to be soldiers. Because the rich ones will stay in their little zone. I love the politics of AOT. I'm going to say that right now. The politics are top tier. I really, really enjoyed this because I had some other choices. I could have done AOT, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen. I do plan to do those at some point, but I really wanted something just different, a different flavor, and AOT really gave that to me. Sadly, since Eren didn't actually die, he just somehow transformed into a Titan just when he needed it to. I really was looking forward to this human story. I really enjoyed the story, but I wanted to see them have to deal with the death of the main character in the fifth episode. I thought that would have been epic. So Eren apparently can become a Titan, transform, because his dad gave him some kind of serum. We don't even know if the dad's alive. He can, during this whole first part of the series, he's trying to learn how to control it. There's a point where his buddies, his sister and Armand, his best friend, who's also a really good strategist, stand up for Eren and say, no, he's cool, he's one of us, he's a soldier, he's a human, we don't know what's going on with his DNA, but he could be a weapon that we could use to fight the Titans. And I was like, hell yeah. And what's also lucky for Eren is when he's in his Titan mode, he looks like a badass fighter dude with teeth that protrude from his face. And most of the Titans look like these weird, pot-bellied old people that run around with their hands waving in the air. So luckily he doesn't look like that. But he's a pretty, he's got his military fighting skills and whatnot. It seems like when he transforms that he's fighting going wild, going feral every time. Like he's like, I just want to kill them all. And he almost loses control, and he's slowly gaining control, but at the same time, it's like, it's not easy for Eren right now. It seems like he's got to adapt this like a muscle, like a new arm, a new ligament that he can control, a meat suit, a literal meat suit. Like he can come out of the Titan. That's another thing. After he found out that he could get out of the Titan body, I'm like, where is all this flesh coming from? I cannot wait to find out why he can do this, because I still don't know. I was hoping by the end of Season 1 they would show us why Eren can transform into a Titan and how it works how it works. The fact that he can produce a massive amount of meat and bones all at once, and then they disappear when he separates from the Titan, really, it didn't throw me off so much that it just was like, what is going on here? But Aaron's a cool main character. He's not terrible, but obviously his sister and Levi, his mentor, is much more badass and more confident, I guess, in themselves than they are. They're just better soldiers, and they've worked their asses off to do that. So there is that. But it's cool to have other characters that you like a lot too. Armand is eventually taken to a court of his peers, and they tell him, like, are you going to actually help us? And they give him an opportunity to help the society, help them, because they have to plug a hole in one of their walls, their great walls of China things that are protecting their towns and whatnot. And there's this giant hole that was kicked in by this massive Titan. And so our Armand comes up with a plan where him and a crew of the soldiers, the scouts and the MPs go out to the town with Aaron, and Aaron will transform and hopefully control his power this time and grab this rock. Luckily, there's this giant boulder not too far away from this hole that fits perfectly. I am curious about that. Was one of my questions when I was watching. I was like, was the boulder there as a backup plan? What was their original plan? Was it to move that boulder? Why was the boulder there? And they had 5 years to prepare for this massive Titan if it ever returned and kicked a hole into one of their walls again. 5 years. And they didn't come up with some kind of quick patch type technology, like, I don't know, some kind of thing you can roll in and set a bomb off and it makes, releases a bunch of cement as like a temporary wall. Something. Because the fact that they had a boulder near it makes me think that they brought that boulder there for said purpose. There's so many questions, not enough answers is what I'm saying. But in the end, what's his name? Not Armand. Fucking Aaron does patch the hole with the rock. But beforehand, he's being a dumbass, and he's like trying to hit his sister, and she's like telling everybody, no, he's good. He's just trying to get used to his new body, basically. Some people are like, no, we have to put him down. Half of the society thinks that Aaron is a menace, and the other half thinks that he could be a weapon, basically. And, his loved ones want him to be okay. And he just wants to be a great soldier and, honor his mom who died in front of his eyes. I think he wanted to be a soldier before she died. So it just really cemented that path for Aaron. So eventually he does get placed into the, not the MPs, but the scout regiment, along with his sister and Armand. He basically is under watch by Levi, the, Sasuke Aizawa type mentor dude, pretty badass. This dude is inhumanly skilled at fighting, in their style of fighting. There's a point in this season where he takes his two swords and he does basically a windmill fan type rotation up a Titan's arm, and you're like, how can he even do that? How does his equilibrium and muscles work that way? But all power to him. I like the Levi guy. I hope he survives throughout the series. He seems pretty cool. I was worried he's just going to be this emo kid, because he kind of gives off that vibe. Like he was going to be like, yeah, my father was killed by my brother, and he loved Titans, and now I have to kill all the Titans, and my brother who lives out in the woods with the Titans. I don't know. I just didn't know what to expect. But so far, Levi's been pretty cool. They get to train with the scouts, which have a whole cool strategy of spreading out the horses they ride on. And I got the vibe that the Titans don't attack animals. They only go after humans. They did even mention that they don't even digest humans. They just spit them out after they're dead and they've been in their stomach for too long because they have no digestive system. They just eat humans. What are Titans? Like, why are they here? I love it. It's like zombies, but giant monsters. And we don't know why this is happening. It's pretty cool. Whoever came up with this idea, I would love to watch a documentary about that person and why they came up with AOT, because it's a good concept and a unique concept that you haven't seen before. We've seen elements of a world, a utopia like this type thing, but nothing to this aspect. Game of Thronesy, of course, but it's its own thing. And I appreciate that. They go on their first big mission, and lo and behold, they run into Titans, and they're being badasses. They get to learn from the scouts, the veteran scouts that are all badasses, and they're kicking ass, taking names. But before they know it, a giant female Titan comes in, and I was like, okay, it's an abnormal Titan. If you didn't know, there's abnormal Titans that have different abilities that we were kind of teased with at the beginning of season 1. One of them like ran through one of their walls, crashing, like the armored Titan, I think they called it, and one was the colossal Titan, and he's the one that kicked in the wall initially and then disappeared twice. But this one kind of looked like the gigantic colossal Titan. She was pretty damn big. But she's running at the squads and just taking them out and not eating them. And you're just like, what is happening? But my first thought when I saw her face, and maybe this is everybody's first thought, and I just think I'm smart. I knew that lady was the girl. Let me look it up. God, what's her name? The blonde. Annie. Yeah, I knew it was Annie because the way the face looked, she was all fleshy. That's another thing about Titans. Some of them have no skin, and it's just muscle and bone. But she had no skin, so you couldn't really tell who she was, but she was ginormous. And she was just killing Titans, but she left Armand alive. And I was like, well, she must know who Armand is. I want to know her whole story, because you don't get it in season 1. You don't get any answers. You just get more questions. She ends up getting finally taken down by Levi and his crew, and it looks like a happy day. But then she transforms back into a human, and this is before they even realized that she was a human. She might have just been an abnormal Titan. I think it was Armin who figured out that she was a human within a Titan's body, like Eren. What luck that this is all happening around the same time. I am curious how that's going to connect. Like, I really hope it just wasn't coinky-dink that Eren and this girl were alive at the same time. Like, I hope that she's going to have answers for Eren whenever they, get that from her. She gets taken down. She eventually fights Eren in their giant Titan forms in a badass fight. Best fight of the season, in my opinion. It was so good. She kicked his absolute shit in, and I think his sister and Levi ended up saving him and breaking him out. Like, she kept him in his mouth. She didn't want to kill Eren. That was apparent. So there's something going on there. I feel like she was trying to recruit Eren for something bigger. I also feel like there's more of these people who can transform into Titans as well. It's not just those two. I wouldn't be surprised if in season 2 we do get to meet more people who have this ability for some reason. I don't understand how Eren's father has something to do with this. And they kept talking about how they need to retake Wall Rose. I think it was Rose. They want to take the wall back and then go to Eren's childhood home's basement, where his father was working on something very secretive that we found out in season 1, or episode 1 of season 1. And I still would like to know what that is. I feel like all we got in season 1 was a bunch of questions, really zero answers other than how the society works. And I honestly would love more stuff about how the rich live in AOT, how they live their lives, how they see the commoners who live on the outskirts of the area. You get to see them a little bit at the end of season 1 when they finally take down the blonde girl Annie, who they figured out pretty easily that it's her. And I thought what was funny is they were like, yeah, it has to be her. She fights like us. It's obviously a soldier because of that. There was a bunch of other reasons, like it's her because of this and that and the other thing. But then I think it was Aaron's sister was like, yeah, and it looks just like her. She's a total bitch face. And I love that because it did look just like her. And I was telling my wife, I was like, that is Annie, who decided not to join the Scouts. And I was so happy when I was right. And I kept watching just to find out if I was correct. I would have been like, why does she look like Annie if she's not Annie? It was almost too obvious. I almost wish she wore a mask in her form, in her giant form, or something, or didn't fully develop the head part. I mean, then the strategy that Levi came up with to take down Annie before even involving Aaron, and not even trying to involve Aaron, was top tier, great strategic work. The only thing was she knew to protect the back of her neck. And another thing, she had armament hockey, if you're a One Piece fan. Apparently these Titans can harden their skin in certain places. So even if you got a clear shot on the back of her neck to kill her in her Titan form, she can just harden the back of her neck. And if she's too busy doing that, she can just put her, if she can't do that, she doesn't have the energy to harden her neck, she can just put her hand there and protect it. But even when she had her hands there and she was backed into a corner to protect her weak point, when she was surrounded by other scouts, and they were just slicing at her tendons until her arms fell limp, and they like just sliced her back of her heels so she would fall down. It was so cool the way they strategically used their fighting style to take somebody down like her, who they never expected a Titan who could think and strategize with. This is like the first Titan they had to deal with that could strategically plan out her fighting with them and, run away even. Not just blindly run after them and eat them. But they took her down, eventually with brute force. There was actually a really cool part when Levi's crew, his original squad, his, top 4 were with Aaron, separated from Levi, and they were being chased by the female Titan, and they told Aaron, you need to run away because you can't be captured by her. You're more important than us, I guess. You need to trust us. There was this big thing where Aaron's like, yes, because he's a rookie. He's a kid. He doesn't know anything. And he's like, yes, okay, I will trust my squad. Because the whole time he's like, I can just turn into a Titan and fight her with your help. And they're like, no. Could you imagine if he just turned into a Titan the first time and just fought her with a bunch of other soldiers helping him when they could, or even just his sister backing him up? I think they would have had less people would have died, maybe. But we did this whole thing where he had to learn to trust his squad mates, and he did once and it worked out, but the second time he decided to take off on his own, and they were like, we'll hold her off or we'll take her down, we're badasses. And these were 3 or 4 of the best soldiers they have. They go after this lady, and she basically murders one of them and hangs him, absolutely decimates the other 2. It was brutal. Like, it was gory, like horror movie gore in an anime, which I absolutely loved. Aaron turns around, he's like, what did I do? I trusted them and they died? I could have just transformed and fought ya. And when he does finally transform, it does show us that even if he did, he was gonna lose anyway, because Annie's a badass fighter. I think she was the one that was a badass fighter from the very beginning. So she's been preparing for this, is my theory. There's something going on. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else was pulling the strings for Annie and using her, because they were very vague on her backstory. I didn't really get it all, didn't catch it all, didn't process what the little tidbits they gave me, but I would love to learn more about her. I always liked her design before they even showed her transformed as a Titan and as a main character, a main antagonist, I guess you would say. Is she? I would not be surprised if she turned into in season 2, if something happens and she ends up helping out even though she murdered so many soldiers. Like, she needs to be executed and studied. We'll have to see what kind of information she has, really. I'm excited for season 2. I'm really excited to hop right into it and then review that, because season 1 was an absolute treat. I really, really enjoyed it. I love that the English dub was enjoyable. If you could comment down below, let me know what you thought of this review. What do you think of AOT? I'm excited to continue this journey with all of you. I highly suggest, if you aren't convinced yet, please give AOT a shot, because it's worth your time. Also, is the manga worth, reading? Let me know in the comments. I'm interested. I'm a big manga reader myself. I just, thought, why not watch the anime? It's available, and I'm not against that either. I almost suggest go ahead and start with episode 5 and see what your experience is like, because it was a shocker for me. But I will talk to you later.